It's the go-home show to Backlash, the first Smackdown exclusive pay-per-view right after WrestleMania 33, and a lot of intriguing moments to say the least. We get an epic tag team matchup, a interesting contract signing, and two blockbuster matches between future opponents heading into the Backlash pay-per-view. What exactly goes down as we head into Backlash? I think I just said Backlash way too many times. We're going to cover all this and so much more on this week's edition of the Smackdown Rebound. Hello everybody, my name is Connor, aka OKAYFABE, your official video correspondent for OneWrestling.com and of course One Wrestling Video's YouTube channel. And thank you guys for tuning back into the Smackdown Rebound. Of course, we're going to cover everything from this week's Smackdown, May 16th, 2017. Thank you guys for tuning back into the channel, into the show. I apologize that this episode is extremely late. For those of you who might be unaware, I was actually at this particular Smackdown from Manchester, New Hampshire. That's why things got a little out of hand, just a bit tad on the late side. Man, it was a lot later than I thought. And then those monkeys came in, and just the elephants, and you'll just trust me. You'll hear about, check your local news. Anyway, guys, before we get into this whole ordeal, you guys hopefully know the routine now. We always like to hear what you guys have to say. So make sure to leave your thoughts about this week's Smackdown Live down in the comment section below. Make sure you follow myself and the entire OneWrestling.com family over on social media. Of course, myself at OKAYFABE, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/OKAYFABER. If you guys want to check out, of course, Big Ray at Big Ray Show, the entire Big Slam Nation, and of course, the legendary, the iconic Mr. Bill Apter at Apter One Wrestling. And all the links are down in the description box below. If you guys love this Smackdown Rebound, hit that big old thumbs up button. Of course, subscribe for more amazing content from all of us right here at One Wrestling and One Wrestling Video. So, this Smackdown was a very interesting one. Of course, the go-home show to Backlash. Again, the first Smackdown exclusive pay-per-view right after WrestleMania 33. A lot of hype, a lot of intrigue, and a lot of emotions. As we kick things off with Kevin Owens hosting his own highlight reel, talking about his epic encounter coming up with AJ Styles for the WWE United States Championship in just a few short days. The only critique I really have of this particular segment, other than Owens once again reminding us of what he did with Chris Jericho, smashing his throat and neck with the steel chair into the post and the pillar, is the fact I really was a bit confused as to why this was necessary. Don't get me wrong, I love Kevin Owens, and I love Kevin Owens on the microphone, but it was very bizarre to me that he was doing the highlight reel steal. I figured that with Chris Jericho pretty much gone and out of the way, we would be full steam ahead, full guns blazing all the way to AJ Styles. But I felt like AJ Styles was almost put on the back burner as Kevin Owens starts to dictate how he's going to beat AJ Styles in French, because that is the true face of America. But it doesn't take long for the Phenomenal One to interrupt Kevin Owens, claiming that he's going to not speak in French, he's going to speak in English, because he can, and he's going to take the U.S. title, of course, from him at Backlash. Honestly, this is one of my favorite matches leading into the pay-per-view. I think this is probably one of the most high-profile matches on the card, and that's including the main event, but we're going to get to that a little bit later on. But honestly, again, love the moment, love the segment. I just didn't understand why we needed the highlight reel again. I understand we're coming off the momentum from the Chris Jericho injury, or the attack, I should say, a couple weeks ago, but I felt like the well has run dry on that one, but it does make me more curious to see what's going to happen between Styles and Owens at the pay-per-view. Of course, it doesn't take long for the hindered Jinder Mahal to come out with, of course, the Bollywood Boys, claiming that he was supposed to be the original guest of the highlight reel, and he doesn't understand what AJ's doing. AJ's talking about he should be focusing on his match tonight. Of course, AJ chases Kevin Owens out, and we lead right into our first match between Jinder Mahal and AJ Styles, with, of course, the true face of America, Kevin Owens, on commentary. This matchup was very, very good. The weird thing, though, was, and I'm not sure, and again, keep this in mind, folks, too, I'm doing this review based off of my experience there live at the show. So it might be different from what you guys experienced in television, in which case I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts down again in the comment section or on social media, and let me know what the differences you guys experienced. So for me, it was very bizarre because Jinder was dominating a majority of the match, and then AJ Styles coming back, and Jinder did amazing moves. He did some really good stuff, of course, like the chop from the top rope, and he looked very well versed in the ring. He's a very good wrestler, obviously, because he's working for the WWE. but I didn't get that vibe from the crowd. Maybe it was the crowd that was really not doing it for me. But when AJ Styles started getting momentum back, the crowd was going berserk. As AJ Styles looks to hit the phenomenal forearm, the Bollywood Boys actually distracted the referee long enough for Kevin Owens to pop up out of the announcer's chair and slam AJ Styles with the championship belt in the leg, distracting him long enough for Jinder Mahal to hit the camel clutch slam to get the 1-2-3 on the phenomenal one. I like this for several reasons. The big reason that I like is because, of course, and I might have mentioned this before in the last Smackdown Rebound, unfortunately I can't recall, but one of the things I definitely think they needed to do was make Jinder look like Superman. They needed to make him look a credible threat to the WWE Championship, and he's been dominating pretty much every week since he won that six-pack challenge for the #1 contendership. And with this being another feather in his cap, and obviously what happens later on in the evening, which we'll get to in a minute, I felt it was needed that he needed to get a victory without any sort of tainted help, or at least any tainted help with the Bollywood Boys. And while the Bollywood Boys distracted the referee, it was more Kevin Owens, and it was a matter of circumstance because, again, Kevin Owens and AJ Styles are having a feud. So I at least enjoyed that because it was the Bollywood Boys, but it wasn't. And in order for Jinder to be perceived as a credible threat to the championship, I think victories like this needed to happen more often. And I'm glad it actually happened on this particular show. And again, just the way it was lined up, it actually gives build momentum heading into Backlash. So I actually really enjoyed this great opening segment, great opening match for this week's SmackDown. So again, I wish I saw a little bit more of this beforehand, but still, and I just find it very interesting because the Bollywood Boys look so like they look like half the size compared to Jinder Mahal. But then again, Jinder Mahal is, you know, the Punjabi. No, that's not the Punjabi Playboy. That's Great Khali. I'm waiting. It's gonna happen. Jinder Mahal is gonna be the Punjabi Playboy. It's just a matter of time. I mean, have you seen those muscles? It's just amazing. Anyway, speaking of amazing, the Fashion Files up next. One of, if not my favorite segment of the entire show, this entire thing. Breezango knocking it out of the park once again with just great comedic timing, great. It was just great. I keep saying great, but it's the truth. It was just really funny how Tyler Breeze was in disguise and Fandango didn't recognize him, and they were making fun of the Usos. They were talking about how it says day one-ish, and they're like, what is day one is H? It was just highly entertaining. I love it, and I love how they just have gelled so well. I love these segments too because they're short and sweet. They don't go too long in terms of, it's just enough goofy comedic shtick for me to enjoy without it being oversaturated and just like going too far and too long. So props to both of them, which of course leads into their tag team match against Breezango and the Colognes. My only complaint in this one, I should say my only critique in this particular match, is I wish it was a little longer. Breezango getting the win over the Colognes after Fandango hits Epico with a Falcon Arrow to get the win. I wish this was longer. That's my only gripe, is I just want more. Because again, there's a lot of very good tag teams on SmackDown, a lot of very good tag teams on SmackDown. If just given the opportunity, a little more time, a little more airtime, and a little more time to breathe, I think they could put on some great matches. This matchup between Usos and Breezango for the SmackDown Tag Team titles is another match that I'm really looking forward to at Backlash. I'm sure we'll get into that later on. But afterwards, the Usos come out and start talking about that day one-ish, and it's hard to, unfortunately, I had difficulty hearing them between the distance I was from the ring, and unfortunately they had very large and loud filters and vents going on in the building, so I had trouble understanding them. But I did catch the end of the promo where they said that this isn't the fascist police jurisdiction. They are going to read them their rights at Backlash. So that was very clever. I love the Usos' I should say new attitude. They've been heel for quite some time, but I just love the new promos they're cutting. They're really intense. I don't know what they're saying half the time, but it just gets me pumped up. It just gets me excited. I'm really loving it. Next up, we have the contract signing between the 6 women of the SmackDown Women's Division. Between, of course, we have Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and the Women's Champion Naomi. Natalya, on the other hand, Tamina, and Carmelsworth. I'm still going to call them Carmelsworth. I almost want to call them Carmarillo, like the candy. It's close. Not quite. It's not quite as sweet. Ellsworth doesn't... He's not sweet. Carmella's sweet. He's not. She is? No. Anyway, there was a little bit of trash talking here in between both sides. I did like the fact that Charlotte was mentioning how she is going to reclaim what is hers, meaning unfinished business with Naomi in the championship. So it's interesting that it's just like a, unified front for now. But, and this is just me, Ellsworth won me over in this whole thing. I really appreciated James Ellsworth. Something about him in this one, implying that Becky Lynch had the hots for him. He said there's no chance in hell. It was just funny. I really liked it, and it's funny because I felt like Ellsworth's character has gotten kind of stale, but I really I don't know why, but just the charm of Ellsworth has worn back on me. Gosh darn it, and darn it. Anyway, Naomi tries to go after him. Carmella throws her into the table. Shane then gets between all of them as there's a giant cat fight, and he makes the following match between Naomi and Carmella. Honestly, when I heard this matchup, I wasn't a big fan of it, and I wasn't really too interested or intrigued. But I will say, Naomi looked fantastic. Carmella did too, but Naomi looked great in this matchup. And I think one of the things that also complemented this as well too, where Carmella didn't have as much in-ring action in comparison to Naomi. Naomi dominating most of the matchup. What I think made up for it was the action outside the ring. Natalya, Tamina, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch, their interactions with both them in the ring and, of course, the others outside really made it interesting and intriguing. The finish was the most interesting part, though, as Naomi's starting to dominate. Tamina and Natalya actually get ejected by the referee. As they are leaving, they actually turn a 180 and bolt right back against Charlotte and Becky and start beating the crap out of them. Naomi gets distracted. Carmella comes up with a schoolboy and a handful of tights and rolls her up to get the 1, 2, 3, and they duck out. I don't think I've ever seen that before, or at least I haven't seen it in quite some time, so it made it interesting, because usually you see heels, moan and complain and argue and all that stuff, and it's very different. It's different direction. It's different than what I've seen heels do in that scenario, basically. So it was very different and very interesting. Props to them, and props to heels. It's very interesting to see what's going to happen at the Backlash. We got Dolph Ziggler backstage cutting a promo saying he's never understood the hype around Shinsuke Nakamura. He says, calls him a fraud and nobody, and he said he did his research and he's ready for WWE Backlash. He even has video of things that Shinsuke Nakamura has done in WWE. Of course, it's just a slide saying that there's no footage found. He then rolls over a video of his career over the last 8 years, with him winning, of course, the Money in the Bank, the Intercontinental Championship numerous times, of course, when he cashed in and won the World title. Ziggler says that for all of his accomplishments, nothing will bring him more joy than spitting in the face of all the fans that turn their backs on him by beating Nakamura. One of the better promos I've ever heard Ziggler actually cut. I'm a little 50-50 on his current heel run. I think Ziggler is the perfect opponent for Shinsuke Nakamura for his debut on the main roster, and I think this is a great foil for Ziggler to move on to other things as well, too. I'm not sure what's in the future for Ziggler, but I feel like with his promo work, not everything's a gem, but when he hits it out of the park, he knocks it far and out there, and this was definitely one of them. It wasn't comedic. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't the same thing that we got of the whole Michael Jackson impersonation that we got last couple weeks ago. But out of all the interaction or the hype between these two, this was my favorite promo, hands down. But anyway, we move into Sami Zayn backstage, and he announced that Shane McMahon has granted him a match against Baron Corbin at Backlash. He says he may not be as big or as strong, but he is a threat to Corbin because he is a constant reminder that Corbin isn't as dominant as he thinks he is. Corbin comes out of nowhere and attacks him from behind. He yells at Zayn to learn to stay down, because if he doesn't, he's going to put him down permanently at Backlash. I know I've said this about like the U.S. title and the tag team titles, but again, another match that I think if you give it enough time, it's going to be absolutely stellar at Backlash this Sunday. Randy Orton against Baron Corbin, one-on-one matchup in the main event, non-championship, of course. This was a different matchup than I expected, and the reason I say it's a very different matchup is because when you look at Baron Corbin and Randy Orton, I see two very similar wrestling types and also two very similar personality types. The loner, dominant, sort of good, sort of bad guy. Obviously, Corbin more bad than good, and also very different styles. That was the very interesting thing that these two had. I felt like Orton was very more mat-based and technician, a little bit more sly, almost trying to hit the RKO at the very beginning of the matchup, whereas Corbin was really more dominating with the power in this one. And this is the first time I think these two have ever faced one-on-one. I'm probably wrong on that one, but of course you guys can correct me. But it was a very interesting matchup, a lot more even side between both men. Orton getting some moves here, Corbin getting some moves here. It wasn't just one person dominating and then a comeback like we saw between Jinder and AJ Styles earlier, whereas this one, both men kind of leaned back and forth, and then literally RKO out of nowhere. After Corbin caught with a deep six and a near fall, he tries to circle around the ring for another lariat, but as he comes back in, Orton just plants it. RKO and gets the 1, 2, 3. Afterwards, Jinder Mahal comes out after the match and distracts Randy Orton just long enough for the Bollywood boys to sneak up right behind him and attack. 3-on-1 assault despite Orton's attack or trying to battle back. Jinder eventually hits in that Cobra Clutch Slam and poises with the WWE Championship over Randy Orton to close out the show. I was of course biased because I was at this show, but I really enjoyed this SmackDown for numerous reasons. Backlash being right around the corner, I felt like all the right moves were needed to be there. I think Jinder facing AJ Styles was a great showcase of his skills. I love the finish. I'm a little confused again as to why Owens needed the highlight reel, and honestly, the contract signing with the women's division I felt like was just not horrible. There was nothing bad on this show per se. I don't think there was anything like horrendous or horrific on this show by any means. But there were just things that just kind of wasn't sure what their purpose was. Wish the tag team match was a little longer, of course, and I loved the main event for just the seeing those two fight one-on-one for the first time was really interesting. A lot more matches made for Backlash, but it does make me more hopeful and intrigued to see what's going to go down this Sunday. But of course, guys, these are just my opinions. Always like to hear what you guys have to say. So make sure you leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Make sure you follow myself and the entire OneWrestling.com family over on the social media. Again, myself at OKAYFABE, at Big Ray Show, at Big Slam Nation. Of course, the legendary, the iconic Mr. Bill Apter at Apter One Wrestling. Guys and gals, this is another edition of the Smackdown Rebound. With thank you guys for continued love and support. Make sure you subscribe to One Wrestling Video, and of course, check out OneWrestling.com for all your wrestling news and needs. And also hit that thumbs up button if you guys like the Smackdown Rebound. Let me know down in the comments section below. Thank you guys again for watching, and we again appreciate love and support. And to quote the legendary, the iconic Mr. Bill Apter, we will see you at the matches.